here's another one. Maybe I'm saying, are EPOs worth taking in bodybuilding? I don't know what that is.
I'm not super familiar either.
Capital E, capital P, capital O. I don't even know what that is. You know what, maybe we'll get it on the next round then. That's kind of a weird one. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Thoughts on girls who are on gear that brag they lift more than the boys?
I mean, let them.
Yeah, I don't understand why this is an issue.
A lot of times it's reality. Now, I have females who are not on gear who train harder than a lot of dudes. Right? And
at that gym, yes. Yeah.
That's the reality. And I have people from all across the country and in different countries training harder than dudes. And I guarantee you, there's dudes that get hurt by that. And it's like, well, fucking train harder then.
Yeah, she's not doing anything. You can't.
If you have a problem because, like, here's the thing. Just because, sorry, is the question train harder or lift more?
Lift more. So almost like they're bragging that they can lift more, but you'd think chemically that they should be able to. But I don't know where that limitation ever was.
For sure. And I mean,
who gives a shit?
If the playing field is level, a female will never outlift a man. You know what I mean? So if an enhanced female is taking gear and a male is taking gear, it's just not going to happen. Like, physiologically, we're built different, and that's by design, for fuck's sakes. There's a reason. Like, we're protectors and that kind of stuff, right? It's look at our ancestors, and through history, that's what we're meant to do. Yeah. But
and we're not playing that gender and sport shit. He's just, you strip everything off me, there isn't a woman alive with bones as big as mine.
Absolutely not. We don't have the same level of muscle mass. Like, go through the fucking population, look at the size of males versus the size of females. It's not a fucking question. It's not a debate. Like, we don't need to go down that road anyways and stir up political bullshit. Yeah. But
that wasn't the intention of this. I think it was just probably some natural guy that got pissed off that a girl lifts more than him.
And that's a reality. I mean, a perfect example.
Respect that shit.
A perfect example, and I will name drop here. Look at Peyton at our gym. Peyton trains like a fucking freak. She's
squatting like 400 fucking pounds.
She's a pro bodybuilder. She's a pro bodybuilder, turned pro last year, and the reality is she is stronger than a lot of dudes at the gym. Is that a problem? Not necessarily, because if those dudes are showing up and training hard, maybe they're not enhanced. Maybe they're not a bodybuilder. She's stronger than you. That's the fucking reality of it, though. You can't be upset about that. As long as you're showing up and working your ass off every day to get better and look better and feel good, that probably will not affect you.
Matter what someone else
so
does.
What affects you is if you're the person sitting there saying she shouldn't be stronger than me, and she is, and she fucking trains harder than me. That's a you problem, not a her problem, not an us problem, my friend.
That's just respect. I'm like, my 100%. God, she's even 150 pounds?
No, and I think she's. Well,
it's off season now.
Yeah, but no, she's not. She's definitely, like, on stage. She's
$115, $120.
I don't want to say tiny because she's muscular. She's very muscular, but she has a small frame, right? And she looks very feminine and stuff. And it's like I said, if you're fucking upset about that, don't bring that to me. No. Train fucking harder then and get stronger. Yeah. And if you think you need PEDs to get stronger and that's a route you want to go, make that decision yourself. I'm not going to make that for you. Like I said, I think using PEDs should generally stick to this industry and the industry I'm in, but I'm okay if somebody wants to do it safely and out of harm's way, and you're not in a competing setting. But don't fucking bitch about a girl training harder than you who's a pro bodybuilder.
all the girls at the den, well, at least half of them, definitely move more weights than I do. Just at my age, just, being self-preservation, I have no inclination to put 3-4 plates on a squat, and they're burying them. These are not half reps, but we're gonna leave that there. I don't know the point of that question. If you want to elaborate and ask again, I can bug Braeden, but this just sounds like someone who's butthurt that a girl outlifted him.
Big time. Okay, so we just looked up EPO.
Oh, back to the EPO question.
And bodybuilding, and it's basically blood doping. So realistic, like, this is, from what I'm gathering here, they're talking about what athletes in the Olympics used to do and stuff like that when they've been busted for that kind of thing. I believe it's probably prevalent in the world of bodybuilding somewhere. Do I think?
Can you explain it? I still don't know what it means.
The reality is, the way I'm interpreting this, what I'm reading right now, removing blood, right? So you remove a lot of blood, you go train, and then before a competition, you pump that blood back in you, so you have way higher levels of oxygen going to the body and so forth. Because that's
Oh, okay. Fighters have done that to try and drop an extra pound and then put it back in.
Absolutely, yeah. And you're stronger, your performance is higher, right? Because all of a sudden, you're used to performing in a setting where you have less oxygen available to you, which is incredibly important for outputs and so forth. Mm-hmm. Now you're in a setting where you're super physiological with the amount of oxygen you can give yourself and so forth. Again, I'm not going to pretend and sit here right now that this is something I understand to a massive degree. Will I ever do it? Absolutely not. Have I done it? Absolutely not. Do I care about that? Absolutely not. So in my opinion, as somebody that is in this world of bodybuilding and works with athletes on the higher level stages, I don't think it's necessary. And do some people do it? For sure. I'd be willing to guarantee there's a lot of crazy shit that happens in this industry.
To win? Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So do I think the best people in the world are doing EPO or using EPO, whatever the hell you want to call it? No, I don't think so, because again, I know...
My concern would be, would that not alter your blood pressure instantly? Like just putting in another bag or two of blood when you're not really deficient?
Well, you have to think about it this way, right? Hypothetically, I mean, your body is going to create blood at a greater level per se, but if you're consistently removing blood and reoxygenating it and pumping it back into your body, again, I don't understand this to a deep degree. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but I would argue that if you're removing blood, your blood pressure is going to drop, right? And then pushing blood back in will have it kind of normalize again. Now, will the body create blood cells at a greater rate when you pull a lot of blood out? Absolutely. So if they're putting that blood in when they're already back to normal and or above normal, it's going to create issues. There's going to be more hemoglobin, hematocrit, all that kind of stuff. Red blood cell count will be through the roof, but that's generally the purpose. And as far as I'm concerned, if that's what you're trying to do, are you worried about your blood pressure? Fuck no. You know what I mean? Like you're taking this risk for a certain purpose. And I think the last thing you're super concerned about is your blood pressure.
All right. Before the show, we agreed that we weren't going to talk dosages and stuff like that. So this is just...
I can dive into small amounts of it. My biggest problem with that is I just don't want to say something on here to you guys, and you guys think you can go and run and do that, or somebody listens to it and says, well, he said this, et cetera, right? So I will talk about like some things for sure. So put it out there, and we'll see where I run with it.
Safest mass building cycle. I don't know. That's such a generic term. I don't... Like,
it is.
Are you looking for, like, to me, I could hear that and say, are you going to be world's strongest man, or are you going to step on stage? Those are two different protocols.
For sure. And are we talking strength building? Are we talking actual muscle size building? The two are different as much as they do overlap in some areas. I'm not going to write a cycle for you guys right now. I'm not going to put out specific dosages and compounds and stuff like that. But I will start with this, and this might piss some people off. More than half of you, probably almost all you, don't fucking train hard enough. And a lot of you guys don't fucking eat enough food. Yeah. The hardest part of bodybuilding, I'll tell you right now, for me as somebody who just got to 260 pounds and it was a fucking struggle to get there, and I was staying up till 2 a.m. trying to get my food in, that's the hard part of bodybuilding. Putting a fucking needle in your body and going to the gym and training is easy. Trying to eat the amount of food it takes to get there, and when you have a cheat meal, that's a massive meal, you drop 2 pounds the next day, that's not fucking fun, and that sucks.
Well, he's not putting tiramisu in. I'm watching these guys meal. They're putting it in clean. I've told you guys on my fitness channel, I have a hard time putting 2,500 calories down if it's clean.
And I was sitting around 5,500 there for a bit, right? Like, if anybody's listening to this, so personally, myself, just from an efficiency standpoint, I won't push more than 5 meals. Now, have I in my
1,000 calories a meal?
Pretty well, yeah. Have I been at a place before? And this is, again, where I was kind of and this is another piece of bodybuilding we can talk about however long you want to sit here and talk about this. Have I been in a setting where I believe bodybuilding became a little bit toxic to me, and that's all I cared about at a time in my life? For sure, because I had one goal, and I'm a very goal-focused person, and my goal was to become a pro bodybuilder.
Obsession is
and I was setting alarms and waking up at 2 a.m. with 90 grams of protein in a shaker cup and 100 grams of oats blended with nut butter, and I would wake up at 2 a.m. and slug that shake because I had 7 meals. Right? That's not something I do now, because I also understand the value of sleep and trying to have not broken sleep and that kind of stuff. And I also just, quite frankly, don't care to be a pro bodybuilder. If it ever happens and I step on stage, sweet. I'm not hell-bent on that. I care more about my athletes. I care more about my family, my businesses, those kind of things. But I still am a bodybuilder through and through, and I do bodybuilding, I would argue, probably a lot better than most people that are still competing to this day, because I fucking love it and it's a piece of me.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, and you can't remove it, or else that whole thing that we talked about at the beginning, you're no longer you.
Yeah.
You can't remove that just to do more
100%.
business.
Yep.
That's what drives you every day to be like, no, I can conquer that shit too.
Yeah, and I'll be completely transparent with what I do. I mean, right now I'm on 150 milligrams of testosterone a week, which is HRT. That's what people walk around with. Their doctor prescribes them to keep normal test levels. I'm still 255 pounds and eating 4,800 calories a day right now, so almost 5,000 calories. And I do that between 5 meals, right? And again, for me, the reason I do choose to do 5 meals, whether people think that's right or wrong, because some people argue you got to have 6 or more. Some people are saying it doesn't matter if you have 3. I believe there is 3 meals. I believe is not efficient enough to bodybuild, because you need to take into a lot of different factors like muscle protein synthesis and how many times you can spike that during a day, etc. But for me, it's an efficiency thing, because again, I just said I care more about my people and my businesses. So for me to have to stop 6 times a day instead of 5 times a day, it's a lot easier for me. And there's time. My best workflow is actually in the morning when I get up before I've even eaten. So I like waking up, and Ty and I ran into this problem that we were bitching about on social media, because I'd wake up at 5:30, I'd go straight to the gym and I'd start working, and I'd have my coffee and my water, and I would work, and all of a sudden it's 11 o'clock and I'm like, fuck, I haven't eaten yet. But I got a lot done. But I haven't eaten yet. Now I have to jam those 5,000 calories in before I go to bed in the next 12 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, fuck, this is a struggle. So I actually forced myself to having to start eating earlier, as much as I love being efficient first thing in the morning, because that's a nightmare. And it starts a bad cycle, because then you have to stay up late to get your meals in, but then you're either sleeping 4 hours or you're sleeping your 6 to 8 hours. And if you sleep 6 to 8, you're starting late, and then it just, the whole fucking thing cycles again. Right? So for me personally, 5 works way better, because my pre and post workout meals are very quick to make. They're very easily digestible. I can eat them in 5 minutes flat and get back to doing what I need to do. But like, the reality is, if you want to bodybuild and you want to set your life on this path and be the absolute best you can be, you're going to have to structure some things in your life around it, right? Like for me, I eat 90 minutes before I train, no sooner or no early, like no closer to my training window. And how much can I really get done in an hour and a half when I've kind of flipped that switch? I don't like going back to doing check-ins, because then I feel like I'm rushing to get them done between that hour and a half I have. So if you see me at the gym and I eat my pre-workout meal and I'm just kind of wandering around talking to people and having the community feel and making those connections, that's probably because I don't want to go sit in my office and half-ass something or rush to do something. And that's my time to get ready to train. And that's a whole nother ball game. Is like, when I train, me and Ty train together, and people watch us and people admire it, because we have the ability to go to a really fucked up place during our sets that a lot of people can't get to. And that doesn't happen by not being there mentally, right? So much like me, I'm very fortunate. I came from a high-level sports background. Before hockey games, you would do things, and you had your pregame rituals and that kind of stuff. I was the weirdo that showered before every fucking hockey game I took at the rink. I would shower before I went to the rink, do my hair, put my suit on, you name it, and then I'm at the rink. And before we go for our run and our warm-up, I'm having a fucking shower. Or after we do our jog, I'm having a shower. And it's like, that's fucking weird. Well, that got me in the zone. That got me where I needed to be. Much like with training, I have certain things that I do that get me where I need to be. And we notice it, being business owners, right? We have to run the gym.
Yes.
And we'll be in the middle of a session, or we'll be about to start a session, and something happens that we have to deal with. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm a fucking business owner now. I'm not a bodybuilder getting paid $1 million a year to bodybuild, because that doesn't really exist other than the top couple people in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a business to run. I got people to take care of. And if that happens, unfortunately, I kind of have to leave that setting, but you notice it, and it does affect your session. So anybody that believes otherwise, I'll tell you straight to your face, you're fucking wrong. It does affect your shit, especially if you're in a place where you can optimize your training to that degree.
Yeah. No, the focus these guys got. You guys had that corporate day a few weeks ago, and you guys had thrown 500 on the bar to do RDLs.
Yep.
And this is nuts if you've never seen 30 people gather around 3 guys outdoing each other. What did you rep out, 9 or 10 at 500 pounds?
Yeah, I think it was 8 reps at 500 pounds.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Do you even hear anyone behind you? I didn't think so.
No, it's there's sets that you'll finish where your ears are ringing and it's like, what the fuck just happened? Mm-hmm. But it's
oh yeah, because everybody in the gym stopped.
Yeah,
and I had their cameras out watching these 3 behemoths just throw 500 pounds around. They go,
it's cool though.
Fucking bending.
It's cool because I will say, like, the environment does change shit.
Yes.
So I'll tell you right now, when you have those people watching, you're gonna perform better. Now, that being said, am I specifically listening to them if somebody was cueing me, which I watched back the video, and our buddy who's a freaky powerlifter, shout out to him, Larry, one of the best powerlifting coaches in the city, in Canada. He is, I would argue, definitely the best at that job. He was cueing me through that set, and I didn't hear a single fucking thing that he said. And I watched the video back, and I can hear him yelling certain things. Did I do it or what he wanted to do? I'm not fucking sure, because I wasn't thinking. And it's just like, at that point, my brain is off, and my goal is to not die. Like, in reality, it's like there's a lot of weight in my hands, and that could snap my spine in half.
Absolutely.
So don't let it snap your spine in half. Or you're on a leg press with 10 plates aside. Don't let that shit crush you, because that's the reality of this thing. Now, I think this is kind of getting sidebarred, but I'll just let it ride.
Do it.
A lot of people get caught up in thinking too much during their training. And I think it's an acquired skill over time that you need to officially start out thinking too much. And you need to understand tempo. You need to think about movement patterns. You need to think about moving through space in a proper fashion, because a lot of people don't fucking know where their body is moving, which is crazy to me. Yeah. But I also understand it because I'm very fortunate. Again, I grew up with a sports background. There's a lot of people that didn't have that. Their coordination is different. The way they feel their body is different. So I think early on in a journey like this, you have to spend time establishing those connections and the neural capacity to move in certain ways. And as you get better and better at that, I was just explaining this to somebody yesterday, but there comes a time where the separation decreases, and you no longer think, and it's just normal for you. It's like auto-regulated, right? So people talk to me about the control I have on my heavy lifts when I'm doing hack squats, and I'm not just letting the weight push me down and drop and slam and then stand back up. Because, like, yes, that is brute strength. But on the flip side of that, that's not what essentially builds muscle. I would rather see you on a hack squat going controlled and almost pulling yourself through the eccentric or the lowering of the exercise with 4 plates than watching 7 hammer you into the bottom where it bounces and then you stand back up. Because yes, you have brute strength to stand up with it, and essentially you're just trying not to die and standing up with the weight, just like I had said, but you're not building muscle in an efficient manner, right? So that's an acquired skill over time, and that's something that with my athletes, I really work on and try to get. But on the flip side of that, I think also people take that way too far, right? So that's where I said this is an acquired skill, and you need to start moving away from that skill as you get deeper into your training life. Because if you just hold on to that stretch and squeeze a pink dumbbell bullshit, you're not going to build muscle, right? And that's where there's a separation and divide in the industry right now, which there's some industry leaders and somebody that I've had a very fortunate period of time to kind of mentor with and work with, and he did my own training. His name's Nick Gloff. I believe he's one of the best, I would argue probably the best in the world at training programming and understanding of the body. And Nick is one of those guys who understands biomechanics better than 90% of people. Way more than that, probably 99% of people. And when you talk to Nick, though, he'll get complex with shit, but he'll also tell you, dude, just fucking train harder and stop thinking. Because that's the primary ingredient in the recipe, is the effort and the intensity. Outside of that, then let's refine that a little bit more. But if you can't fucking train hard and you can't push yourself, you could train perfect. Absolutely fucking perfect. And I see it all the time. Trust me, I see it all the time, and I just shake my head.
Wash, rinse, repeat, and nothing happens for 4 years.
These coaches and these people that just like it working out, so they become coaches and they take some biomechanics courses and they think they're a fucking god to muscle building, yet they're 150 pounds soaking wet as a grown-ass male. And I have no problem with you being that size if you're not pretending to understand building muscle at the highest fucking level. Yeah. Because if you don't have any muscle on your frame, how are you going to fucking tell me that I can build muscle doing what you do?
There's no faith in it.
Because as far as I'm concerned, I would rather listen to Branch Warren, who didn't know a fucking thing about mechanics, hurt himself every other training session, but looked like an absolute fucking freak and stood on the biggest bodybuilding stage in the world. Do genetics come into play for him? Yeah. But he was one of the hardest workers this industry has ever fucking seen, and he got where he was because of that. Nobody got to the highest level in this sport because of fucking biomechanics only, right? Whereas people have 100%.
Holy shit.
And you ask a guy like that, look at him. He's absolutely fucked. Do I agree with where he's at right now? No, but I understand it, because you're talking to somebody who blew their aorta in half and still puts 5 plates or 500 pounds on a bar or 7 plates on a hack squat and does the same shit. Do I want to not be able to walk at 70 years old? Absolutely not. Right now, am I thinking about that? Absolutely not, because I have other things that I'm thinking about, and I know that there's going to be a time for me I have to pull back. Yeah. I understand that and I respect that. I don't believe that time is right now. Am I pulling back right now a little bit because of injuries? Yes. I'm listening to my body a little bit more. And this is where I was going with this. You listen to Ronnie, and if you've probably all heard the interview, the guy's he can't even walk anymore because his back is so fucked and his hips and his spine is so fucked up. And if you ask him if he would change anything about what he did, his response on an interview was, I would get one more rep with 800 pounds on the bar.
Yeah, like if you've watched his videos, he was literally squatting 800 pounds 2.5 weeks before the Olympia. You're talking depleted. And
completely fucked.
Yeah, like
that's
not, and you can't even convince him not to, because he's not listening at that point.
And we're talking about a guy that was working a 9 to 5 as a fucking cop for a majority of his bodybuilding career.
Yeah, like his vest was so small on him that it wasn't going to stop a bullet anyways.
Imagine that guy kicking in your door.
No thanks. I'm just like, shit, whatever I did, I'm guilty. Yeah. Just tell me what I did, I'll sign off on it.
Hilarious.
All right, so anyways, that was safest mass cycle. I don't really want to go into compounds like that because, like you said, someone's going to take it the wrong way.
Yeah, and there's really bad compounds, and there's ones that I would say are safer, but I don't want to say the safer ones, and you think that they're safe and can be abused. So
yeah, because until you have your blood work, you've checked your blood pressure.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe caffeine isn't even right for you as I'm pounding down coffee, because I know people that sensitive.
Yep.
So I don't like that question.
Well, and I'll say this. I mean, I have a lot of people start working with me because of my education on PEDs and the roster that I do coach, and they want to get into the world of PEDs. And quite frankly, when you sign up with me, if you're a young kid and or maybe not young, and you're like, hey, I want to start steroids, so I'm going to hire you. I'm going to do a bodybuilding show. I want to go that route, etc. Maybe you've already competed naturally a few times and you just want to bodybuild. Well, guess what? When you work with me, you ain't going on gear for at least 3 months. You're going to give me 12 weeks of showing me you can diet, you can follow a plan, you can check in on time, you can do the shit that I require of you that shows me you're serious about this sport first before I ever have a conversation about putting you on cycle. And then you're going to show me that you can afford the supplements that I give you, which might be $200, $300, $400 a month to make sure you are mitigating risk. Now, when you do that, and I actually used to make my athletes send me receipts of their supplements before I wrote them a cycle. And if they wouldn't show me receipts, I wouldn't fucking write them a gear protocol. Do I still do that? No, because the athlete needs to take some fucking onus too.
Yes.
And I can't micromanage 100 plus people. But that being said, I develop relationships with my athletes, and I think we've developed a level of trust now.
Like I said, the respect of
for sure
everyone around you is...
And I'm very fortunate to have developed that I get people that say, I want to work with you. And I'm at a place now where I am selective with who I work with. I interview every single athlete that joins my specific roster on a call, a video call, before we have this conversation. And if we're sitting there and your eyes are looking around the room and you're just nodding, staring at your phone, texting while we're talking, I'm probably not going to fucking bring you on my team because you ain't about it. And you don't actually care to be here. Somebody told you I was a good coach and you're like, sure, I'll hire him. Maybe you got a couple extra dollars to burn, right? Mm-hmm. I want people that are about it, that are here to fucking win.
Yeah, because if they don't succeed, they make you look terrible.
So back to what I was saying 100%, but back to what I was saying is realistically, if you come to me and you're like, I just want to start steroids, I'm probably going to tell you, show me you want to start steroids first. So for the next 3 months, let's see what you're made of. Show me your training efforts. Show me your training efforts. Show me your fucking diligence to follow a diet. Show me that you can sleep in a regular fucking schedule. Show me the shit that matters first.
And
because
not partying.
Yeah, because any of those things, if you can't do those things and you take drugs, the drugs aren't going to work. They're not fucking magic. People honestly, and even people that start their first cycle with me that are bodybuilders and follow this shit, a lot of the times they have a misunderstanding of what's going to happen. And they think suddenly they're going to look like fucking Ronnie Coleman after taking a needle for the last 12 weeks and putting a little bit of testosterone in them. Unfortunately, that's not the way the world works, and that's not how these drugs work. They increase recovery and all that kind of stuff. They don't just get you fucking huge. Over time, will they? Yes, but you also need to be dialed the fuck in, and we talked about this on our last podcast. A lot of times, bodybuilders that are taking shit are absolutely dialed the fuck in on every single variable, and it still is not super easy. If anything, a lot of enhanced guys work harder to be as diligent to earn that extra 1% of muscle, right?
That's crazy. All right, we're down to the last couple. I think you might have touched on this, and I don't know why they're asking for a suggested TRT dose, because I'm assuming if they'd on it, their doctor would have told them. Maybe this is
that's
between...
a whole nother ball game, brother, we can dive into.
So it says suggested TRT dose and frequency of injection, maybe.
Yep. So I can speak to my own thoughts.
So why would they be asking this if a doctor hasn't already? Why would they consider it if a doctor hasn't already?
Well,
told them?
put it this way: doctors aren't really educated on this, man, unless you're an actual hormone specialist, and
Like
an
an endocrinologist.
endocrinologist. A lot of them don't really know what they're doing, and I've seen this firsthand with my father. And I have a great family doctor, an unbelievable family doctor who's been my family doctor since I was born. I really respect him. He helps me out a ton. He gets me blood work when I want it. I'm very fortunate. My father went on HRT with him prescribing the TRT. I believe what they were doing was completely astronomical and didn't make any fucking sense. One shot every 3 weeks, so you spike your test very high, and all of a sudden by the end of 3 weeks you have no test left in you, and then pin it again. It doesn't really make fucking sense to me. Dosages without blood work doesn't really make fucking sense to me, because the reality is I have friends and athletes who are on TRT, or testosterone replacement therapy, for those that don't know what that is. And that's basically taking testosterone.
Sorry, I should have covered
No, that's
that
okay.
before.
I can talk to it. And the reality is most males in our generation will require it, and a lot of females as well. And I accepted that risk the second I took a needle, that I would probably be on it for the rest of my life. But that being said, even those who never take it, at some point in your life now, you're probably going to want it to keep your heart and brain healthy. Now, dosage-wise, and what the problem is with that industry is, like I said, they just don't truly understand it. So they don't understand half-lives of drugs. They don't understand all this kind of stuff. They're just like, yes, you need this amount. This is what literature says to take, and we'll keep you healthy by doing this. Is it better than not doing it? For sure. Is it optimal? Absolutely not. So, I mean, I have athletes who run TRT at 50 to 65 milligrams per week, and I have athletes that run 250 milligrams per week to stay normal. That's up to the human body.
That's just normal?
In normal ranges. Is 250 milligrams a week for most people going to keep you in a normal range? Absolutely not. I call that, in my world and in our bodybuilding world, we call that sports TRT. So that's going to keep you above the normal range, but I would argue
Your
not.
baseline is just higher than a
Yes. So
natural.
if you got your blood work tested, your testosterone would come back out of range on the plus side. So you'd be above normal ranges. Do I think it's going to put you in a place where it's super, super negative for your health? No. And that's why guys can run it. Do I think that's what most people should do? No. I think you should stay in a physiological range where your body wants to be in, whereas I would argue high side of normal. Are you waking up with a morning erection? You should be. And if you're not, there's some shit. Now, can other factors affect that, like stress and
shitty diet?
100%. That stuff can affect it as well. But again, if you look at your hormones and your testosterone's low, you're going to want to get optimized. And like I said, maybe you need 75 milligrams a week, because I know a lot of people that take that. Maybe you need 150, right? So I would say normal ranges are anywhere from 50 to 150 to keep most people in the normal range. Some people might need 200, 250, etc. Now, I've had people tell me that they'll stay in a normal range at 400. Fuck off. No, you will not. Absolutely no, you will
Sounds like
not.
a full cycle.
I've seen it once, and that was somebody who had a severe testicular injury in their past, and literally between communication and signaling from the brain to the gonads just was completely different, and they actually did require a little bit more, and it was about 400 milligrams a week to stay normal. Now, again, putting 400 milligrams a week of an exogenous source in you, that person also will have complications that come with running 400. Just because their test stays normal there doesn't mean putting the oil and other things in you is not going to be a concern, right? So you have to monitor those things, because, like you said, estrogen may be a little different. So there's a lot of different pieces at play there, but for the most part, 50 to 150 I would call normal. In our world, when we're just working with athletes, usually it's like 100 to 150 is TRT. 200, 250 is sports TRT. I cap it like 100 to 200 milligrams. That's normal, is what I would say for me to dose people at to keep them in range. 250 plus is outside of that range, with 250 being sports TRT.
And the frequency of injecting to hit that target weekly, would you do that two
So
times?
I'm glad
once
you
a
brought
week?
I'm glad you brought that up. The more frequent injections, the more stable your dosing is. The more stable your bloods are going to be with testosterone, right? As a male and as a female, we get surges of hormones daily, and I try to mimic that as best as possible. So it's a more newfound method that's being used in the world of HRT, but microdosing testosterone, and you can actually do this, with other steroids too. If you're doing blasts, is microdose them. So you use a smaller syringe, like an insulin syringe that you would take the peptides with, or growth hormone, very, very tiny needles. And you just put it sub-Q, so into like belly fat. You don't go a big injection into your muscle, and you take it daily. That's how I do my TRT, and I actually find it way easier and convenient because I'm a very routine.
Does it break down in the fat cell though?
No, so it slowly releases, right? The drug is estered for a period of time, but yeah, you can take subcutaneous anabolics.
Learning every day.
And androgens, you definitely can. And like I said, there's literature on this now, and this is being practiced by a lot of HRT clinics throughout the world, and specifically
probably reduce scarring as well, eh?
Big time. Less scar tissue and so forth. So it's and like I said, I find it convenient because it's really, I'm not somebody, believe it or not, and I've done, like I said, I did my first cycle in 2016, and I didn't abuse drugs ever, and I still don't. I don't enjoy injecting intramuscularly. I don't love pinning, to be honest with you. I can't stand it, actually, and if I could have the same results without doing it, I would love to not do it. But I understand that it's part of the game, and it's something I need to do. And like I said, I will be on TRT forever. For myself, I much prefer doing the small dosing more frequently. So and I find it convenient. Like I said, I'm a routine guy, right? So what I do is I'll fill 10 syringes to the mark that I need, which I take 150 to 200, depending where I'm at with bloods and so forth, a week. Right now I'm on 150, like I said, and I'll fill a syringe that will give me 150 milligrams per week. And then what I'll do is I'll dose that daily. So I have a very consistent, like the body would, surge of testosterone daily to keep my levels very stable and steady. I also find it convenient because I load those syringes, I put them in my nightstand, I shower before bed, I go to my nightstand, I wipe with my alcohol swab, inject, move on.